In 1519, the Aztec Empire was at its peak. Tenochtitlan was a city of 100,000 people, built in the middle of a lake, with causeways, canals, and temples that Europeans could barely comprehend. The empire stretched across Central America, dominating 5 million people. Within 2 years, it was gone. 500 Spanish soldiers arrived in 1519. By 1521, the greatest empire in the Americas had fallen. But here's the terrifying part. The Spanish didn't win through superior weapons alone. Disease, betrayal, and psychological warfare did the work. This is the story of how an empire fell. Let me take you to Tenochtitlan. When Hernán Cortés and his men first saw the Aztec capital in November 1519, they were stunned. One of his officers wrote, "When we saw so many cities and villages built in the water, we were amazed. It seemed like an enchanted vision." Tenochtitlan was built on an island in the middle of Lake Texcoco. It was connected to the mainland by causeways, raised roads that cut through the water. The city had aqueducts bringing fresh water from the mountains, canals for transportation, and a huge central plaza with temples and palaces. At the center of the city stood the Templo Mayor, a massive pyramid with 2 temples on top, one dedicated to the god of war and one to the god of rain. The Spanish estimated the temple complex could hold 8,000 people, and the city itself was enormous. At its height, it covered 13 square kilometers and housed over 100,000 inhabitants, bigger than any city in Europe at the time, except perhaps Constantinople. The market of Tlatelolco alone was said to serve 60,000 people daily. So how did the Spanish destroy it? Cortés arrived with 500 men, 11 ships, 16 horses, and some cannon. He was outnumbered 1,000,000 to 1. But he had one crucial advantage: enemies. The Aztecs ruled through terror. They demanded tribute from conquered peoples. They sacrificed prisoners of war to their gods, thousands of them every year. The estimates vary wildly. Some modern scholars suggest 20,000 human sacrifices per year at its peak. The Spanish conquest accounts, like Fray Diego Duran's, claimed 80,400 sacrificed at a single temple dedication in 1487. The Aztecs believed they were maintaining the cosmic order, but their subjects saw it differently. They saw oppression, and when Cortés arrived, they saw an opportunity. Cortés formed an alliance with the Tlaxcalans, a people who had been fighting the Aztecs for generations. The Tlaxcalans supplied thousands of warriors. They knew the terrain, they knew the tactics, and they hated the Aztecs with a burning passion. Cortés also used psychological warfare. When he met with the Aztec Emperor Moctezuma, he told him he was the ambassador of a great king, sent by God to bring the true faith to the New World. Moctezuma was so impressed by the Spanish horses and guns that he welcomed them into his city as guests of honor. But the Spanish didn't come as guests. They came as conquerors. Once inside the city, Cortés took Moctezuma hostage. He demanded gold and silver. He demanded the Aztec leaders submit to him, and he began to systematically dismantle the power structure of the empire. Then the revolt began. The Aztecs rose up against their invaders. In June 1520, they drove the Spanish and their Tlaxcalan allies out of the city in a night of chaos known as the Noche Triste, the Sad Night. Over 400 Spanish soldiers died. Many of the Tlaxcalan warriors were captured and sacrificed to the gods. But the Spanish would return. Cortés retreated to the coast, regrouped, and built 13 small warships. He cut Tenochtitlan off from the mainland, the causeways, the aqueducts, the supplies. And then he waited. The siege began in May 1521. It lasted 93 days, and it was a slaughter. Cortés made his men destroy everything: the temples, the houses, the canals. The Tlaxcalans joined the attack, slaughtering captured Aztecs and offering them as sacrifices to their own gods. Cortés wrote in his account that the Tlaxcalans killed more Aztecs than the Spanish did. But the real killer was disease. The Spanish brought smallpox to the Americas. The Aztecs had no immunity. It spread like wildfire through Tenochtitlan, killing thousands. On August 13, 1521, the last Aztec emperor, Cuauhtémoc, surrendered. The city was in ruins. The causeways were choked with bodies. The canals ran red with blood. Cortés wrote, I had the city burned to the ground, for it had been our enemy. The city was rebuilt as Mexico City, the capital of New Spain, the center of the Spanish Empire in the Americas. But the Aztec civilization was gone. So let me ask you something. A civilization of 5 million people, with a city that was more advanced than anything in Europe, destroyed in 2 years by a disease, a traitor, and a determined conqueror. What if the Aztecs had been immune to smallpox? What if the Tlaxcalans had stayed neutral? What if Moctezuma had refused to welcome the Spanish? History is full of what-ifs. But one thing is certain. The fall of the Aztec Empire is one of the most catastrophic collapses in human history. A civilization that believed it would last forever, destroyed in a single generation. This is Lost Timeline. Subscribe.